GCS, Google Cloud Storage, using the Python client. Okay, meaning, so I have some data in my local laptop, okay, and I want to ingest or load the data to Google Cloud Storage using the Python code. Okay, so in real time, my laptop will become a server. That's it. There is no difference. Okay. So for example, in real time, you may get requirements like this. So I have a server wherein I will be getting all the files from the business. Okay, flat files. You can say it may be JSON or Parquet or CSV, and I want to load those files from that server to Google Cloud. Okay, so that is one of the requirements. So in that scenario, how we need to implement the logic, right, in Python. So that is something that we will see today. And along with that, we will also see how we can ingest data using a service called NiFi, right? So I will explain that part as well. Okay, let me open the code base. Yeah. Okay. So we know how to generate the ADC application default credentials. We have discussed this, right? So first, let us start with a GCS load. How to load a file from remote server to the Google Cloud Storage. Okay, so here if you see in to support that, you need to install some of the libraries called Google Cloud Storage. Okay, so when you go here and just go to settings, just go to settings, and then here under Python interpreter, you just click plus here. Okay, you just click plus here, and then you just need to type Google Cloud hyphen storage. Okay, so here if you see Google Cloud Storage, this is the package that you need to install. Just select this and then click on this install package. Okay, so it will install all the Google Cloud Storage related libraries. Okay, once you install that, these two imports will work seamlessly. Okay, this import JSON is from the Python itself. Okay, so what we are trying to do is we are trying to load this ADC file first, because that is the authorization that we need, because we are connecting to Google Cloud from external source, right? From external source. So we need to have one authorization. So that authorization is the ADC file. Okay. Now what we need to do, we need to prepare credentials object, right? So we need to prepare the credentials object. That is the first part. So how to prepare the credentials object? So we will load this ADC file into a variable, okay, which is actually the identity. Here if you see JSON.loads we are doing, and we are passing this JSON string. Okay, so that this identity variable will become a dictionary. Okay, and then here if you see GCP credentials equals to, so GCP credentials is a variable. Okay, and credentials dot from authorized user info. So credentials is a library that we already imported, and from this credentials class we have a method called from authorized user info, and and we need to pass this identity variable that we created to that authorized user info, so that it will return a credential object. Okay, and that object is the GCP credentials variable. Okay, it will return a object of type credentials. Okay, so first and foremost activity that we need to do is prepare our credentials. Okay, and create a credential object. Okay, then we need to create a few variables, right? So what is the GCP project ID, right? And what is the bucket name? What is the source file name? So where actually my source file exists. So my source file exists in this location, right? And where I need to copy my file in Google Cloud Storage, right? And these are few variables that we need, correct? So we need to prepare these variables as well. So the first and foremost step is preparing the credentials and preparing the variables. In here we are actually hard coding the variables, but in real time it may be coming from a configuration file, or it may be uh, coming from a different Python script, something like that. So y- not always you will hard code the variables. Be very very clear, and you may be using the oops level things to keep these variables in a separate Python file, like constants or something like that, right? So these are all things that we already discussed, guys. Okay, so in Python, but here I'm going in a raw way, so wherein we're just creating the variables. Okay, how best you will think of, and how programmatically you will do things is your choice. Okay, so now here if you see, as and when you create the credentials object, as and when you create your variables that are required, then you need to create your object to the storage. Okay, so you need to create a object to the storage. So meaning, for connecting the Google Cloud Storage, you need to establish a medium, and then you need to open the channel, right? So that channel will call it as a GCS client object. So here it's a variable name. You can name it anything. Okay, but the right hand side, what we are doing, understand that. Okay, we are using the storage library that got imported from the Google Cloud. Okay, and from the storage library we are using client. Okay, and this client is taking two parameters. One is project ID, and then GCP credentials. Okay, so at this step, what it will do, it will go and establish the connection to this project. So first and foremost thing is create a storage client. Okay, create the storage client object by using the project ID and credentials. Once you have the storage client object, then you need to create the bucket client object, right? So first you need to connect to the project, then inside the project you need to connect to the bucket, right? So that is why you are using the project client that was already created, and you're getting, or you're opening the channel to the bucket. Okay, so get bucket is the method that we are using on top of the storage client. Okay, so now we have created the credentials, we have created all the required variables. Okay, and we have created the project client, we have created the bucket client. Okay, and then we are actually creating the GCS file, meaning, so what is the file that you are going to create in the GCS. So that particular object that we are opening here, okay, GCS bucket, which is actually the bucket client dot blob. So this is a blob method, which is actually the object storage naming convention. Okay, so we call GCS files as objects or blobs. Okay, so blobs is one of the naming convention. Okay, so GCS bucket dot blob of the destination blob name. So in GCS, I want to create this file. So I'm just opening a channel with my GCS bucket client to create this file. Okay, now I have created my channel here, and then to this channel I want to upload file, right? So as and when you create this file client, okay, as and when you create the file client, three major things. Remember, that's it. There is nothing. One is the project client, bucket client, file client. Okay, remember these three things. So once you create project client, by using the project client, you need to establish and create the bucket client. Once you create the bucket client, by using the bucket client, you need to create a file client by using the file path that you have. Okay, done. Now you need to load the file to that respective file client. Okay, respective file client. So that file client will load the data from the local. So now inside the file client, you have a method called upload from file name. So you already have source file path. Okay, here in users Venki documents, you have sample data.txt. Okay, and then you are passing that path to the upload file name. So upload from file name. That's it. So your file will be uploaded. Okay. Now, any questions, guys? Any questions in this particular code snippet? Step one, create your credentials object. Step two, declare all your variables. Okay. Step three, create your project client. Step four, create your bucket client. Step five, create your file client. Step six, load the file. Any questions or queries? Please ask, guys. This is very, very important in real time. How you will communicate with Google Cloud Storage with Python code. Any questions, queries, or everybody
Yeah.
clear? Are you able to recollect our Python sessions? At this moment, if you ask me what is a variable, I cannot help. Are we clear, guys? Are you coming with me?
Yes, clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now let us test our code, right? So before that, let me check what is there in that GCS bucket. Okay. So in the GCS bucket, I have created dev.de training default is the bucket. And inside that, I have a directory called data. And inside that directory, I have raw, right? And I don't have anything in this raw. Okay. I don't have anything in the stage layer. I don't have anything in the start layer. Fine. Okay, so let's move on here. So what is my path? I from the bucket, I should start with data, and inside the data, the raw zone, and then inside the raw zone, it should place the file. Okay, so first let's check whether we have the file in that given directory or not. So this PC users documents. Okay, I have my file. So sample data.txt. So which is a CSV file. Okay. Now let us start running our program, right? So in GCS, I don't have this file located anywhere. So, and I don't have this directory structure at all, correct? So I have only data directory. I don't have this directory structure at all. Remember, if you don't have any directory structure in GCS, existing directory structure, your file client object will create the directory for you. If the directory structure is there, it will load the file to that directory. If the directory structure is not there, what will happen? It will create that structure for you and then it will load the file. Okay, keep this in mind. Now let us start running our code. Let us start running our code. So run GCS load. So it will start, creating all these objects, right? Starting from the credential object, project client, and then bucket client, file client, all these objects it will create, and then it will finally load the file to your GCS location. So the first important thing is your credential file. Okay. First, you need to go and log in to your GCS projects or Google projects, and then create your ADC file, and then you start communicating with your GCS from your local Python. Okay. Can I communicate with GCS from the notebook Python? Okay, that is also possible. Okay, that is also possible. So how we can do this? So let us start opening our notebook. So Vertex AI. So I just stopped my notebook. So let me. Okay, it is running. See, from here also, you can actually go and write your Python codes. Okay, but this is something that you will do in your local. But if you want to ingest data from outside of your Google Cloud, then this is the way that we need to follow. But if you want to communicate with GCS from the internal things, for example, you need to write a Python program which where actually you need to read the data from GCS, right? So in that case, not from the outside, from the internal Google Cloud. So here you can actually create your Python file and then start writing your code and test it. It's only for testing purpose, guys. You can test your code here, and then you can start writing your code also, right? So that is something that is important. So here you can utilize this Python. uh, by default you will get Python kernel, so you can utilize that in the notebook. Okay, fine. So I think yesterday we have discussed about this gsutil commands, right? So you can always use those commands as well to load the files or copy the files, everything. Fine. So now let us see whether our file got loaded or not. Okay. Okay, so I have this bucket and then I'm going inside to my bucket and then data. See here, it created my directory structure called a raw zone and it placed my file here, right? When you click on this file, you will see all the metadata of this file. Okay, you can use this path and then go here, open terminal, and then see what we have in this, path, right? So, GS util cat. right? So it is up to you guys how you can play with all the commands and then all the code base, everything. So try to practice these things, otherwise you don't get hands on. Okay, that is important. Fine. So now we know how to load a file from. Just give me a minute, guys. I'm getting some. Just give me a minute, guys. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. Got some emergency call. Okay, fine. So everybody uh, clear with how to load a file to GCS and how to validate the file, right? Great. Now let us go back.
Hello, Venki. I'm having a doubt.
Yes.
So, from outside of the from outside, in this PyCharm, we
Hmm.
have written the code. Like we have established a connection, like
Hmm.
created a storage client and then GCS
Hmm.
client. So all these things we have done, right? But
Yes.
the same thing do we need to do from the uh, Jupyter lab? No, right? If
No, Jupyter Lab, that is not needed. From the Jupyter Lab, you don't need credentials at all. It can directly connect to GCS.
Okay, so what about? Uh,
For example, let
is
us
it
take an
like
example.
a okay?
Hmm.
Is
From
it
the
like a
Jupyter Lab, you can always use GSUtil commands to play with,
okay?
right? If there is a file in Jupyter Lab and you want to copy to GCS, for example, this is your Linux machine, okay? and you have some files here, okay, and then you want to copy them or you want to load them to GCS, you can use GSUtil commands, right?
No, no, we are. I mean, we are having an option, right? Like
Yes.
Python,
Hey, you
Python, we can write
we
in.
also have an option. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
how we can do, like do we need to establish a connection, or also we can directly use some upload option, upload some extension is there, from there we can directly load the file.
Basically, you don't need, let me. Okay. So see here, I will just try to, as Sai asked, I'll just try to mimic the code. So here, if you see, same code I'm just trying to write. So identity I'm not taking, I'm taking from here. Okay, and I don't need this project client as well. I don't need to pass anything to the project client. It will automatically pick up. If I paste the code here, see here what I'm doing. I'm not copying the file from this path. So I have another file, uh, right? So I have another file inside data, and I have data.csv. Okay, so I'll say cd data. Okay, I have data.csv, and then what I will do, I will paste this path here, /home/Jupyter slash data/data.csv. Okay, this is my source file path, and this is my destination path, and I don't need to provide this credential object, because by default your Vertex AI notebook can access anything and is the super user, I can say. So just you just pass the project ID and then create the storage client and then create the bucket. Everything is same, right? So and then a raw zone dot data.csv. I'm just loading it into data.csv. That's my destination path. And then simply run it. Right? That's it. So now you can go here and then check if the project has arrived or not. So here, if you see, I think I have given the wrong file name. Yeah. So that's how it works, Sai.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. So fine. Anybody have any questions, guys? Then if not, we'll move on to the next module.
Just a,
Yeah.
so if this is within the project, like I'm trying to access from the same project and same notebook,
Uh,
then this is fine.
your voice is breaking, Sai.
Am
Your
I
voice
audible?
is breaking completely. Yes,
Yeah.
bit better.
So yeah. If this is within the project, so if we try to access no, I mean the GCS from a different project, so if this is the same process, like will it allow?
You cannot connect it to a different project.
Okay.
No, it is not possible. From the project to project, it is strict.
Yeah.
Uh, what I can say, strict restriction will be there.
Okay.
For example, if you want to read from other projects, the approach that we have discussed, right? We need to write the data to the shared project,
Okay.
and from the shared project we need to connect.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay, so that is how we need to do. But in real time you don't get the such kind of scenarios. there
Oh,
is there is at a time you cannot work in two projects, it is not possible. So there is some a project which will be writing the data to shared project. Another project may be taking the data from the shared project. That's how it works.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so any other questions? Okay. Fine. Let's move on to the next module. So now we have seen how to load the file from a local system to the GCS. The next example that we're going to see how to read the file, right? Sometimes you may need to go and connect to the GCS and read the file and then its content, then do some processing on top of it. So that's some thing that you need to do. So if the use case is that sort, so in that case you need to go with this kind of a logic. So here if you see, I'm just going and then creating my credentials object, and then a project client with the credential object, and then bucket client, and then the file client, same, right? But on top of the file client, I have a method called download as text, right? Download as text. So this method will read the file content and store it in the variable. Okay, store it in the variable. So simply when I execute this GCS read, right? So this GCS read will go and connect and then extract the data to the variable, and then it will store it in the variable. Okay, so this is how we will read the data from the GCS. If you want to play with the file data and then based on some conditions, you need to do some processing, or you read the raw file and apply some processing in the Python, and then store back the processed file into the GCS. So these things in real time you may face. Okay, so these things are important in real time, guys. I mean, you should always think you are working in a project. Okay, yeah, it's not like you are learning the course. After this course you may be putting some experience, or you may be putting some kind of expertise in Google Cloud data engineering, and then you'll be moving on to the real times, right? So you should think like a real time project developer, otherwise all of a sudden it won't come. Okay, so you should start practicing that mindset from these sessions only. Okay, because at the end, if we discuss the project will give you a brief understanding of in the real time. So you should think from the multiple ways, wherein for one use case you should think of multiple solutions. Even in the interview also, if the interviewer asks or if the interviewer gives a problem statement, you should be able to give multiple solutions to it. Okay, so that is one thing that should be, you should build that mindset. Okay, so here this is how we read the data. So in what cases in real time, in what cases we will be reading the GCS files? Okay, loading the GCS files, we know the use case. External systems, if we want to ingest the data to GCS, then we will write the Python code to load that, to implement that ingestion process. Okay, but now in which scenarios we'll read the GCS files? So remember, guys, this is the scenario that I have discussed, right? So there is a raw file in GCS that got loaded by some other process, and then you are reading that file, processing it, and writing it back, right? So that processed file will be picked by some other downstream, right? So in such scenarios, this read, GCS read, will help us. Okay, fine. We have seen the load, we have seen the read, and let's see the delete as well, right? So let's see the delete as well. So how we will delete? It's simple. As and when you create the file client, we'll just go and delete it. That's it, right? So it is as simple as that. So let's run this, right? So your blob got deleted. So if we go back and check in GCS, so there won't be any file in your location. So we'll just refresh it. See here, your file got deleted. Okay, so that's great. Now sometimes you may face one, some kind of real time situations wherein whether my GCS want to check that. Okay, so your data engineering flow, we cannot expect the situations, guys. You may face this, because I face this kind of situations. That's why I'm giving these examples. Okay, everything, I'm just preparing the example and giving it to you. Otherwise we can simply see one example and we can leave. But as from my experience, I've seen these kind of scenarios, so I'm just putting all of them as examples, and I'm giving it to you. Okay, so now let us take an example of a use case wherein you have loaded the file. Okay, you have loaded the file. So the next process is needs to check whether the file exists or not. Okay, if it exists, then it has to take one kind of logic. If it not exists, then it has to take another kind of a logic. Okay, so if we want to know based on the file existence, then we'll also use a code called blob exist. So we can always check whether your GCS blob is exist or not, right? So this is something that you need to understand. In all the examples that we have seen, it's just a repetitive code, right? It's just a repetitive code till the file client. On top of the file client, the given methods we are using, it is very simple. Okay, do not see it as a complex thing. Okay, see it as a easy thing. So when you just created 5 different objects, and then you're just using the methods that are by default are there in the GCS client object, file client object. So there is nothing that we are doing, guys. You just need to understand this, right? We are not developing any kind of interfaces. We are not developing any kind of core APIs to connect to the GCS. Google Cloud has already provided those libraries. Okay, we are just using those libraries, and we're just making them work in our project use cases. That's it. That's the only thing that we are doing. So there is nothing complex here. Okay, I am not asking you to write a interface to connect to from on-prem to GCS. The interface was already there. We're just using that interface. Okay, you need to understand that point. So these things are very uh, uh, flexible and easy to understand. Okay, so don't feel any kind of a complexity. Few people may be having, okay, oh my god, again we entered into the Python, this is very complex. Okay, no, there is nothing complex. That's just your feeling. Leave that feeling, go back and practice. That's it. Okay, it will obviously come. Fine. So now we have seen many different things with respect to Python client. We know how to load a file. We know how to read a file. We know how to check whether the file exists or not. Right? Fine. So now note down the task, guys. This task is very important. Okay. So now you have 100 or else let us I'm going to give you a couple of tasks. Okay, so the first task is let me write it down. Before going to that, how many of you completed yesterday's task? Anybody completed yesterday's task?
Completed, Venki.
Rangan?
Yes, Venki.
Okay,
Yeah, completed.
fine. Good to see this, this much good responses. Okay, let's discuss our tomorrow's task. Okay, yeah. So the first task is, I have a a Windows folder in my laptop. Okay, and that folder is some folder or some random folder you can pick or anything. So under that folder, I have 100 JSON files, and then I mean, it's very hard for you to take. Let's say I have one JSON file and one CSV file and then one TXT file. Okay, in the directory. Okay. Now what I want to do is write a Python program to load the files into respective raw zones. Okay, I have one more log file as well. Okay, so your GCS directory will be bucket / data. Okay, a bucket means your bucket name. Okay, just giving it for your understanding. You don't need to give it in your code as a full path. So you can actually, under the bucket, you have a directory called data, and here if you see under data, raw CSV is one directory, and again data raw is another directory, and again under data raw dot text, sorry, raw text is another directory, and then data and then raw underscore log. So these are the directories that I have in the GCS. Under here I want YYY DD. Okay, so this is the loading date. So you need to prepare in such a way that if it is a CSV file, it should go and load into the raw.csv directory with your date, the loading date, when it is getting loaded. Okay, so this CSV file should be placed here. Similarly for all the files, right? So your Python program should load this data into the respective folder structures. Guys, are we clear with the use case? Respond, guys. Any questions or queries? I didn't hear anything, guys.
Yeah, clear.
Understood.
Any questions or queries? So write a Python program to load files from your local directory to the GCS. Okay, but in your local directory you have multiple different file structures. One is .json, and then .csv, and then .txt, .log. Okay, your Python program should detect these extensions or should detect these types of the files and then load them to the respective directories with this kind of a directory structure. Okay, so I have written this YYYYMM-DD, guys. So this is not a directory folder name. Okay, be very, very clear. So when you are loading that respective date, it should come 2024 07 24, something like that, right? So that's how it needs to come. Fine, this is the use case one. I'm just pasting it. So by tomorrow, I'll ask people, you know me, so you have to complete this task and come to the class. Okay. If anybody was not able to complete, you can come and explain the reasons from here onwards. Okay, but it's up to the people's choice. Okay, I don't force anybody to complete the task. It's for you only. It's not for me. Okay. Fine. So the next task is I have a database table called EMP underscore data. Okay. The schema of this table is employee name, department number, employee name, employee ID, employee name, employee ID, employee salary, department number, and then load underscore date time. Okay. So these are the columns that I have in my database table. Take some sample data. Load time is actually the default constraint. By using the default constraint, we can actually give the default behavior. As and when the record inserted, you can actually create this load time column. Okay, default as current timestamp you can give, so that as and when the record inserted, your current timestamp will be loaded into the load date time column. Okay. Now I have the data in my table. Now write a Python program to load the to read the database table with where clause on load date time. Okay, and create a pandas data frame, and then load it to GCS. So the GCS path would be data slash, here we can go with the flat files. Okay, so and then here I'm just going DB. Okay, so DB raw underscore data slash EMP, the table name underscore data slash same YYY hyphen mm hyphen dd slash, and you want to write it in the form of dot csv, emp underscore data dot csv. Okay, so you need to explore how to load a pandas data frame to the GCS, how to write your pandas data frame to the GCS. Okay, that is one thing that you need to explore. And we already know how to connect to the database table and how to read the data into a pandas data frame. Correct or not, guys? Did we discuss this or not? We have seen multiple examples in the database connectivity. We have discussed how to connect to the database table from the Python code using the PyODBC and SQL Alchemy. We have seen this and we have experienced this also. Correct. So now you will see things are getting changed and then going into the action, right? So you are going and connecting to the database table, getting the data, and then writing it into GCS location, right? So that is something that real-time use case you are doing. And then similarly going on local filer location and then extracting all the files and splitting the files based on the type and then loading it into the GCS location. See, you two real-time use cases you are solving, guys. Okay, fine. So these are the tasks for tomorrow. Anybody have any questions, you can ask right now. Okay, do not come and say, Venkat, I was not able to do, I got stuck with some queries. No. Okay, so let me Copy paste it. So I'm just pasting the. I don't know why it is. Okay. Maybe it is because of the size. It is not coming completely. I'll just paste the use case to again. So just copy paste to your locals, guys. Okay. Okay, fine. So these are the use cases for tomorrow's session. Okay. So today we have discussed how to load the data to GCS using Python client, and we have seen multiple operations: read, load, delete, and then blob exist. Right. So what I will do is I will create a Git repository, and then I will upload all these files there. Okay. You can access these files from the Git repository, and then you try creating these examples, right? So I think I already have that Git repo. Let me upload it. Okay, so just give me a minute, guys. I'll upload all these Python files to the Git repository. Okay, so I will just try to create. Okay, see, I'm just loading all these files. Okay, so I can actually, you can go to this link and then check you're able to access these files, guys. Someone? Can someone confirm? Are you able to access the Git
Yes,
repository?
we can able to.
Okay, great. So fine then. So from here on, so if we, I'll also push all the code snippets that we tried in the Python sessions. Okay, so let's follow a real time way. So I'll explain what is Git in our coming sessions, but for now we are maintaining our code bases in the versioning tool called Git repositories. Okay, so I'll explain the advantage and how we use Git in real time when we are at the project level. Okay, so for now, we'll be maintaining all our code bases to the Git repository so that you'll get hands-on to the Git at least. Okay, fine. So that's all. That's all I have for today, guys. Any questions or queries before we wind up the session for today? Any questions? Come on, guys, respond. If you don't have questions, at least say no.
No.
Okay, fine. So that's all I have for today, guys. Once again, tomorrow. Thank you.